Welcome into the Pats Nation. I'm Corso. There's Catone. Joe's with us in the booth. You are watching us on YouTube. When you're on YouTube, make sure you check out our shorts, our short reels. Give us that thumbs up, that subscribe, like the show. That's what we're asking and wanting from you, so we appreciate that. Make sure you give us a comment. Leave comments. We'll read them on the show. There were 2 comments last week, by the way, and both of them were, is that Joe Pesci? Who sounds like Joe Pesci every time.
Oh,
you can bank on one of those comments once a week.
If this wasn't a PG show, I'd give you Joe Pesci.
Right. So make sure you're checking all that out on YouTube. But if you're listening to us, you're doing it on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you podcast, you can catch us. And, of course, want to hear from you in Heated Hotline, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S. It's a message line. Leave a message 24/7. Joe's going to pick one. Let it be yours. We get some good regulars. We had a good one yesterday. I'm not sure. For some reason, I feel like we're going to hear it again today. So make sure you stick around and give us a call at Heated Hotline. And, of course, you can email us in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. Got a good one today. Going to hear from one of you in Heated Hotline. And we're going to also go back in the weekly rewind, elaborate more of what we were talking about yesterday on Corso and Catone, which is the Washington preseason game, the joint practices with Minnesota, talk a little bit of Stephon Diggs and some of those things. So make sure you're sticking around for that. And Joe's got something special for us towards the end of the show related to Tom Brady and that statue. So you don't want to miss that. Make sure you stick around for that. Gentlemen, good morning. Good morning.
Happy Sunday.
Listen, I feel.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, how are you? I feel it's officially football season, Chris. We had our first preseason game. Now it's football season, right?
Yeah.
It's
football. We got to see a real game. I mean, I know you were playing, third and fourth stringers in the second half, but it's a football game, right?
Yeah, it is. Joe was there. He was there for that game.
Joe was in the stadium. He was there. Rumor has it he was drinking a little bourbon before the game.
A little bit. Just the booth. Just a little bit, but he liked the energy, didn't you, Joe?
Yeah, it was exciting. I got to say, there's a lot of excitement, especially the first plays we'll get into, but just seeing all the fans with the Tom Brady statue beforehand and all the fans just riled up. And I will say this, after that first play that we get into, the fans sort of held on to last year until that play. Yeah. And then it just woke up, and it was cool to see.
Rinsed off the stink from last year.
Right? My God.
Totally.
Joe's going to get into a lot more of his takes and his impressions later on in the show when we talk about that Tom Brady statue, and we'll get to that. But right now, I want to hear from one of you in the nation in Heated Hotline. Joe?
Hey, guys. This is Jen from Cranston. So I don't know what to think about Drake Maye. He seems like he may just be a blockhead to not understand the situation he was in on 3rd and 7. Putting the ball on the ground in that situation is unforgivable. 16 turnovers last year, and now he's going to be playing in more games. Does he just not get it, or can they fix this fool's problem? I have no tolerance for that crap. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jen. As always, our number one caller, listen, Jen's no bullshit, man. I mean, she come to the table and say, hey, preseason statues, good feelings, vibes. I don't care. Stop putting the ball on the ground.
She's in mid-season form. Forget exhibition season. Jesus,
she don't care. She wants to win. That's it.
She called him a blockhead. She's called him a fool. Right?
Well, listen, let's talk about it. It's a good take. And you know why it's a good take, Mark? Because you've heard all week long people talking about this. Is he going to stop the turnovers? Can he cure that? Can the coaches help with that? All of this stuff. And that particular case and what you don't want to see there. And we'll play it in a second, the actual sound of it. Because it's something I take from what Phil Perry said on the broadcast, which is, you want to see him try to be able to get that ball up. No. You want to see him try to understand the situation, like Jen said, the situational football. And I think that's the bigger problem here, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I'm going to let you play the clip first before I give you my take on what he should be doing.
Well, here it is.
7 for the Pats. Henderson stays on, lines up off the left hip of May. Drake works with 3 to the right, 1 to the left. He takes the snap and he drops back under pressure, rolling left. He's wrapped up and he fumbles as he's falling to the turf. He was wrapped at his ankles, and the ball is recovered by Washington. He was sacked on the pass rush by Jerzon Newton, and then Drake Maye, in the grasp of the defender, falling to the turf, loses the football.
So, Bob, that's exactly what you don't want to see if you're the New England Patriots. Doesn't protect himself, doesn't protect the football. Drake Maye needs to be able to get rid of that thing when he understands that there's pressure coming at him. It looked like Washington ran a little stunt, a little twist between 2 defensive linemen up front, and guess who they caught? The 2 rookies on the left side, Jared Wilson and Will Campbell. A little bit of a lack of communication there ends up resulting in pressure and a turnover for the Patriots.
Yeah, Mark, I don't like that from Perry. That was, of course, Bob Sosey, Perry on the call. I don't like that. Got to try to get rid of the ball there. No. Get your ass on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. If you remember, Chris, I mean, since this game the statue was dedicated to Brady before the game. I'll use Brady as a reference.
Yeah.
How many times did we see him, Chris? Rush comes off the edge. He looks up, sees it coming. He would just get himself almost like in a fetal position and go down, protect himself and the ball, take the sack, get off the field and punt. And that's what May has to learn to do. Listen, you're not going to force a play or make every play. It's okay just to go down on 3rd and 7. Take the sack, live another day, and punt. And that he hasn't. Obviously, Chris, they haven't gotten that into his brain yet because he did it again. He did this last year, and he did it again. Last week.
Yeah, and Vrabel wasn't all that pleased either, was he?
That's a bad decision. I think we're going to need better from him, and I think he knows that, and that's obvious. So, wasn't there, and we just have to be able to find a way to get rid of the football or take a sack and punt and play defense. But to the defense's credit, they, forced a field goal. I think that was missed maybe, but they got a couple. It was a sudden change opportunity.
Yeah. Not happy, and that was what I loved the most out of his press conference was, calling his ass out because the biggest. I don't care about the OC. I don't care about anybody. Their relationship is what's going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Absolutely.
it's Vrabel and May, and if Vrabel can establish with this kid, I'm like your father. I love you, kid, but I'm going to kick your ass. And if May understands that and feels that from him, then he'll be that bridge like Brady was to the players, delivering that culture message that Vrabel is clearly establishing on this team.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because 2 things. First,
once in a while I come with something,
I'm giving, and it's not too often. I'm giving you credit, but I want to give you credit.
You did use the C word, so
you did two things.
Yeah.
Last week, when they had the scrimmage under the lights, the inter-squad scrimmage under the lights in the stadium, he turned the ball over, and you were pissed off because you didn't like the fact that Vrabel kind of waxed over that and talked about, but he made some positive plays, and you were like, what? He's going to lay into him for that garbage. What's he, you were pissed at the way Vrabel answered that in the press conference after that. This was sharp contrast to that. And what you brought up about being like a father figure, tough love, helping him become that conduit between the coach, the locker room, a leader, culture. Vrabel also this week made a comment, Chris, about him being a leader, right? He made a comment about him being a leader and taking the lead in the locker room. Like he referenced that in another press conference this week as well.
And this is what it sounded like.
And the expectation is that he leads this football team. That's what the job of the head coach and the quarterback is. That's pretty much how this thing goes. And that can't take days off. I mean, sometimes the performance isn't going to be extraordinary, but the leadership and the demeanor has to be. And I think he's learning that. It's not that it's lacking. I always want more. I think I have to as a coach. I think that we always want to try to take a player and we want to meet them where they're at and then be able to improve on that.
From there.
So there's no finished products no matter what. We always can continue to work on things. There's certain things that can go up and down, and performance is one of them, and our attitude and our effort is something that can't.
And there it is. And that's what you're talking about. The attitude, the effort, that leadership, that has to be there every minute, every time, every single time you're in that building and even out of the building. You've got to be bringing that leadership. Look, I love the fact that during the joint practices with Minnesota this week, he was with the offense, Vrabel. He's with Maye every minute because he knows that once this thing kicks off against the Raiders, it's football time now. There's no more establishing anything. I mean, you're going to grow. You're going to grow throughout the year, obviously. But he understands that it's time. It's go time. We don't have a month. This isn't Tom Brady and company where we got the whole month of September to work and hone our skills. No. We got to come out of the gates and take advantage of bad teams and bad football and be ready to go. And he knows what he needs out of Maye, and that's the kind of stuff he needs, and I'm loving it. And you know what? When Maye figures out, and if he hasn't already, that this guy loves me, because Vrabel will be the first guy to step in front of the bullet for him too, to everybody else. I'm going to protect you against the outside world. This is how I am with my guys. I'm going to protect you from the outside world. I will, but you're going to hear me. But you're going to hear it from me, and you know where it's coming from. No, I like it.
Yeah, no, I
like
it. I like it, and to what Vrabel said. I know he's not from the coaching tree, right? But some of that he obviously learned as a player because he heard that over and over and over when he was in that building. You know what I mean?
He watched the Patriot way culture established from Belichick. I mean, we teach the kid all we want, but that's where it came from, and he knows it, and he understands that. Yeah. But the one thing I do want to talk about, back on to the football part of this, with Drake Maye. You know, in that game, 3 for 5 with the one fumble. Consistently now against Minnesota in the joint practices, it was up and down. That's what they called it, an up and down. You know, maybe the Patriots won day one on Tuesday or Wednesday, and
Minnesota won day
two. Fine. These are playoff teams. These are 14-win teams you're playing against. If that's the case, then you're in good shape. The one thing you did hear a lot was Maye looked good when he had the time. The offensive line's a different issue. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Maye looked good when he had time. He wasn't doing bonehead things. He was delivering the ball on time, on schedule, all of those things, which you like to see. But the question that I have, I want to play this cut from McDaniels, and then I have a question that I want you to answer for the rest of the segment, and I'll give it to you.
Guys that play this position that have ability to throw it, but also to move and make plays with their legs and extend plays. They have to find that line themselves, honestly. We can tell them all we want, don't make a bad play. There's a fine line between holding onto the ball too long in certain situations and then doing the right thing to help the team. And those guys that were blessed with that ability, they're the ones that have to go out there and learn how to do that and balance it.
So that was McDaniels talking about Maye. Should he be, of his running ability? So to me, the questions become, you let him run the ball? Do you let him use his legs? Do you let him use every tool in the shed, Mark, or not?
Yes. I think McDaniels will let him use every tool in the shed because I think that forces the defense to prepare for that, and it gives the defense something else that they got to think about in preparation for that week. But I do think he will limit it by the play calling and by what McDaniels does offensively with the play calling. He'll
keeping
try to,
him on schedule.
Yes, exactly. He'll try to limit the amount of time that he uses his legs, but I do think he'll allow it, Chris, and it's okay.
And I think he should. I think taking something away. I said this yesterday. Taking something away from a player, a good player, because you can't coach it right. You can't coach him out of the mistakes or out of any of that stuff. That's an indictment on you, not him. Don't stunt somebody because you can't coach your way through it.
Yep. Agreed.
That's my opinion. So no, yeah, you got to let them use every bit of what's in the arsenal. You just protect them when you have to. So Jen, we appreciate the call as always. A lot of things to look for, and as we move forward with Drake Maye, and we'll pay attention to that. But Heated Hotline was presented by Corso Catone, the real deal. New England Field Saturdays, noon Eastern. Hey, we got Catone's comments. We got Yankees, Red Sox going to be bringing back B's and C's, Bruins, Celtics. So make sure you're never missing that. But we come back, going to go back in the week in Weekly Rewind, talk offense, defense, so much more. Stick around.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more
Corso and Catone. Saturdays at noon.
Back in with more Pats Nation. All right, so that we talked about Drake Maye and how he's been looking. Well, we're going to talk about the rest of the team now and talk about what they look like against Washington. We're recording on Thursday, so you would have already seen the Minnesota preseason game. We haven't yet. But we want to talk about the Minnesota joint practices, which to me seems more important. We're going to do all this in Weekly Rewind. We're going to do it right now. Going back through the week, about a weekly rewind.
How important is it for you that on this first game, only 2 penalties for 15 yards?
Well, we had a couple that were, really offsetting, so we still fouled them. It wasn't like we were really, really clean. I thought operationally we were pretty good. Felt like everybody was on the same page in substitution and getting in and out of the huddle. And they don't huddle. They sub, and sometimes they stand over it, and sometimes they don't. So I felt like defensively that was a good challenge for us to be able to play a game like that with a team that really doesn't want to huddle. And but when you can have that many, we had a few kickoff returns and did not have any penalties there. We had the one that was offsetting on the punt. Those are critical because there's so much field position that gets changed when you have penalties on punt returns and kickoff returns. So it's a good start. It's a good start for everything that we were talking about. And give us some more to coach. We have to tackle better, and we'll have to throw the football better going forward. But I thought that this was a good place to start.
And that was, of course, Mike Vrabel after the Washington Commanders preseason game. And Mark, yesterday you talked about this. You liked that cut because he didn't take the win. A lot of coaches would have just taken that victory with 2 penalties. He didn't take that, and you liked that about.
Oh, I liked it. Listen. He gets into, we had some offsetting penalties, and you can't have that in the kicking game because that's, it negates possible yardage gains. And he wants a clean game, no penalties. Listen, he preached, Chris, what he wanted to see at his opening press conference. He wanted people to finish plays, execute in and out of huddles, in and out of breaks. He mentioned the things he wanted to see in his opening press conference. And I'm going to say something, Chris. For the first preseason game, you saw it. What he preached, that team went out and executed, Chris. And you're going to give some examples of what you saw that proved that. But one of the things, Chris, that he preaches is clean football. So he was not happy. He mentions it. He says, we're going to get better. We're going to clean things up. So he's not okay with just a couple of penalties because he still thinks it wasn't clean. And I loved that he said that. I loved it.
Yeah, because he knows what the hell he has.
Yes.
We'll mention this a little bit later, but he knows the roster he's got. He's not happy with this roster. You can see it. He's not happy with the veterans on this roster, whether it be Stevenson, whether it be Tavai, Jennings, Duggar. We'll play that cut later about Duggar. He knows what he has for a roster, Mark, and he knows the margin of error for this team is minute. Yeah. And the one thing he talked about coming in was we need to take advantage of bad football, other teams' bad football. So Washington committed 13 penalties in that game. Now, they were sitting like 20 some odd starters, fine. But the point is, we need to take advantage of when other teams make mistakes. Not us. Not us make mistakes. We can't make mistakes. We're not good enough to make mistakes.
No.
And I love that he's instilling that. And Joe, you got to, this show is, the Patriots are mirroring who he is. You could see the personality of this team showing up as it's him, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And
so
what you liked, Chris, was, he talked about finishing plays and demeanor. He talks about play demeanor. And you saw that, you thought, Friday.
Starting with the offensive line. Yeah, starting with the offensive line. Yeah, listen, you saw, for that one play, and well, I could play that cut in a second, but that one play that the fumble happened with Maye and the twist, there was a little twist on the left side between Campbell and Wilson. They blew that. And I don't think Campbell got out to that, really understood the twist and went inside, and they blew that block. Otherwise, you saw the offensive line getting out on run blocking. We'll talk about that in a sec, and finishing it. I mean, downfield, you see Campbell at the first down marker playing at the sticks, finishing two blocks on that Henderson run down that sideline, that left sideline. And it was something, it's infectious.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, I was happy.
You certainly didn't see last year, Chris.
No, I know. And I was happy in that preseason game with what you saw with your offensive line in that regard. Now, coming into the joint practices with Minnesota, they struggled some.
They did.
They struggled a little bit. And Campbell struggled some with that. Who the hell do they have over there in Minnesota?
Grenard is really good. The edge guy, Grenard.
And I think he beat him like 3 times.
3 times, yeah, in one of the practices, yeah.
And so, are you concerned with Campbell right now?
Listen, after watching the game Friday against Washington, you said to me, Chris, hey, this kid Campbell, he could be an all-pro guard. You didn't say an all-pro left tackle. You said he could be an all-pro left guard. He's going to be serviceable, Chris, for the year. And then you might have to rethink left tackle. So with Marone, with the coaching they've got, with the experienced coaches they have, with Scarnecchia probably looking at film every week for them after games, and giving his input. And you mentioned this on the show yesterday. Can you build him up to be like in the middle of the pack at left tackle? Can he be like a number 15 left tackle in the league, 16 left tackle in the league? And if he is, then that's okay. That's probably good enough to win games and to make a push maybe for a wild card. But ultimately, you still believe after watching the game against Washington that he probably will end up being an all-pro left guard and Wilson will end up being an all-pro center.
I do, because and watching what went on in Minnesota too, same, where he's dominant in the run game. When you get him out in space, and what you're going to see a lot to me this year is we're going to get the running backs in a second. You're going to see a lot of bubbles, a lot of things to get Henderson out to the edge and to get Campbell out on the edge blocking, out downfield blocking, and that'll fit this type of offense. So he's going to look fine at tackle. He will look fine at tackle because you'll see a lot less 7-step drops, sit there, set up in the pocket, need 3 seconds. That you're not going to see that from this offense a lot. You may see PAP on this with this team, play action pass, some under center. It's part of their offense. But they're going to be reluctant to turn his back to the defense while Campbell is still trying to, grow as a left tackle. So they'll protect him in the play calling. But we talk about finishing, right? Talk about finishing, and we talk about excitement and explosive. Probably the best unit on the field is the running backs. And this is what happened against Washington.
Antonio Gibson, number 4, back deep. And this ball's coming out. There's a speed depth. There it goes. Oh, there it goes.
There's Joe and company.
Oh, yeah.
It's already a new season. The number 2 draft pick from Ohio State takes it 100 yards.
Yes, and that was Zolak and the McCourty brothers.
Zolak hesitated for a minute because he said afterwards on his show on Monday, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, he said, I couldn't see what number it was. I didn't know if it was him or Gibson. So I had to wait a second before I knew who the hell was running the ball.
Well, he ought to know. He ought to know better because Gibson at his best has never had that kind of speed. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that was, of course, Trevion Henderson taking the initial kickoff. And, Joe, he said something that you said. He said it actually in the broadcast, and you actually mentioned, and I'm quite sure you didn't hear that call until this show, where it's a new season. And that play kind of, it felt like that
it epitomized it. That was almost like the passing of the torch from last season to this season. Here we are, guys.
Put that stink away, and here we are.
Here we go.
With the new, so it was apropos. But talking about the running backs, if nobody else is mirroring his Vrabel's personality, those guys did that night. Man, they were finishing everything.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, Gibson and Henderson and even Stevenson. And I know you're not a big fan of Stevenson, Chris, right? But he didn't, he played well. He's hurt now. He didn't go to the practice in the joint practices. I don't know what happened with them. He tweaked something in the Washington game. And they came out of that Washington game with an injury to the undrafted rookie Larison.
Yeah,
Glenn Larison, which is too bad because he looked good in that game, Chris. Damn, not just because of his number. He really did look like Burkhead. We talked about it, right?
He does. Yeah, you could see it across the board. Anytime anybody's got the ball in their hand, they're finishing off. They're not stepping out of bounds. They're not doing any of that.
Gibson looked even a little more a little faster and even crisper himself compared to last year. He looked real good too.
To me, it's their best room on offense, which I would rather have the wide receiver room be the best room, and that takes me to this now. Let's talk about the wideouts.
Joe, now, just to finish one point on the running backs, their running back room, Chris, isn't only just their best room. I think they got one of the top 5, top to bottom. I think they got one of the top 5 running back rooms maybe in the league. If this kid Henderson, Chris, reaches the potential he looks like he has.
Yeah. It could look like a Detroit room. I mean, we talked about that. Can they create something like that? Because this team's going to have to do it. Using the backs. The wide receivers, not a lot to talk about with that preseason game. They didn't do much, and I think it was intentional that they weren't doing much with the wideouts in that game. And I think it was to people pissed to say we want to see more of the passing game. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with starting off nice and slow with that. And but they look good in the joint practices. Booty's been looking good. Douglas has been looking good. But Mark,
the rookie looked good, Chris, in the exhibition game, though, Chism.
And this is what Vrabel had to say about Chism.
Mike, it looked like Efton Chism got off to a good start tonight. What did you see from him that maybe stood out?
Well, I think his play strength stood out to me, just from the sideline. I think the way that he blocks and his ability to catch the ball in traffic. The ball was basically tipped or bobbled, coming out of Ben's hand and kind of ran through a tackle and ran through contact, and then we threw him the
screen. He's electric with the ball.
So those are all positive things. I think his play strength to me is what stood out.
Chris, who does that remind you of play strength?
Yeah, I mean it's Edelman, it's Welker. I mean it's Troy Brown. I mean guys that just play above their measurables.
Yeah, stature and
you know what I mean.
Yep, absolutely.
Positively. It's a guy you got to keep around here. You cannot risk trying to hide this kid. He won't clear
waivers to make it to the practice squad.
No, I agree. And if I'm looking at this wide receiver room right now, and I want to get the Diggs right now, but again, to me, I think he stays because I think Polk and Bourne are going to start on the PUP list anyway.
Yeah, it appears.
And so way. I mean, so you look like it's going to be Diggs, Booty, Williams, Hollins, right? Pop Douglas,
and they're setting it up,
and
Chris.
Chism.
But they're setting it up to keep 7 because they keep talking about Baker making contributions on special teams. He's going to be a special teams. He'll be a special team, like he'll be receiver / special teams. He'll be like the Slater. The 7th guy will be him.
Maybe, and I could tell you this right now: if it's between he and Chism, I'm keeping Chism.
Oh no, I'm keeping Chism over Baker. Absolutely.
Now, Mark, we talked about early in the summer with Diggs with all that boat stuff. Your favorite video,
Joe? Can we cue it up, Joe? The boat. Can we cue that up, Joe? He don't cue it up.
So what I want to do, we're going to get to break, but before we get to break, I want to play this cut from Todd Downing, the wide receivers coach, okay, on Diggs. And then coming on out of the break, Joe, we'll go right to break on this. I want to come out, I want to talk about our observations of Diggs and what's going on with him.
How confident are you you at this point of preseason that he's going to be able to be the game changer that a lot of fans maybe are hoping he'll be at the beginning of the regular season?
I think where he's at in his process right now is where we want him to be. You know, he's working hard when he's out there with his reps, and you see him making some plays. The big thing with him is understanding that we can't confuse results with the process. So if there's a day that he doesn't have a whole bunch of production, that doesn't mean he didn't do his job and get open.
The real deal New England field. What does that mean? We're like you. We're going to bitch about everything.
My opinion, our draft, the good, the bad, it was ugly.
These people, Mark, drive me freaking insane. Bananas.
It's so frustrating and aggravating. I can't take it.
The real deal New England field. It's going to be real. Back in with more Pats Nation, and it's going to be real. And Mark, that comment was pretty real by the wide receivers coach Todd Downing, who coached him in Minnesota, who coached Diggs over there. So he's got experience with Diggs. Mark, do we have a problem with Diggs right now? Is there a problem with Diggs?
Here's what I took from that, Chris.
And keep in mind quickly, he hasn't spoken to the media in 3 weeks either.
No, he hasn't. Here's what I took from that. I don't necessarily know if he's where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there in a route. So I think like May puts a ball where he thinks Diggs or where Diggs should be, and he's not there because maybe Diggs misunderstood the route, was a little slow getting out of a break because maybe he's not 100%. Maybe he's 75 or 80%. And they said, even when he's not catching the ball, he made it a point to say, even when he's not catching the ball, he's still doing the things he's supposed to be doing. And I don't even know what that means. I take it as, yeah, he's trying to learn the playbook. And to me, Chris, I think he might be struggling a bit with McDaniels' playbook. I could be wrong, but if you read between the lines, Chris, isn't that how it sounds?
It is, and if that's the case, it's disappointing as hell. Because remember, McDaniels talked about putting things in buckets. Vrabel talks about meeting the player where they are. Well, look, you got a 22-year-old quarterback, okay, trying to learn this system. That's your weakest link intellectually in the room about learning the new offense.
Well, it should be.
Yeah. So it can't be your 10-year veteran, 8-year vet, whatever the hell many veteran who's played in 2 to 3 different offenses, one of them being day balls, which is an offshoot, of this, and that he's struggling to learn it. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if this is already Diggs being a pain in the ass
because he's not getting enough reps.
Because he's not getting enough to him. Because when camp first opened, you heard everyone talking about he looks fantastic. It's electric. They're trying to get him the ball right away. He's always getting the first ball thrown to him. He's always getting it. Mark, against Minnesota, they had like 26 attempts. He got 2 looks. Now, remember when Bourne a week ago talked about, hey, we played this cut a week or 2 ago, but Bourne talked about, look, it's a wide receiver, it's a busy room, and everybody's got to roll. So if you're only going to get 2 to 3 passes, you step up when the time your number's called. And maybe Diggs doesn't like, he's a guy saying, I don't want to hear that. I got to get the looks. That's not what this offense is, though.
No.
So its offense isn't really set up for a diva, I guess. So I don't know if it's that. But when you couple it, Mark, with what Vrabel had to say, can I play this Bedard take real quick on it?
Go ahead, because I have something else I want to add to. Go ahead. Yeah, let's listen to Bedard. Go ahead.
With Mike Vrabel, he was on EEI, and he's asked about Stephon Diggs, and he says coach's decision, like that's it. And
that's why he didn't play in the Redskins game.
I don't know if you'll back me up on this, but there have been practices more recently when I watched Stephon Diggs, and I'm like, is he on a program or is he just going through the motions? So you combine all of that stuff, and the only way I can read that Todd Downing said what he needs to understand about, not getting the ball is it seems like there's an issue with Stephon Diggs.
That was Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal. Go ahead, Mark.
So Diggs is on a podcast called Scoop City this week. And he said they asked him about being ready and suiting up for week 1. Now, you've been saying this since we signed him, Chris.
That's
And Diggs says, we'll see of his week 1 status. Everybody's excited. I'm just taking it day by day. I feel great. I mean, I'm pushing the needle always. I'm always doing more than less. We'll see about week 1. So that's a different take than he had at the beginning of camp. And then Downing says, I don't know how I feel about it. We'll see. Coaches aren't too excited. I'm not too excited. I'm just trying to take it day by day. So we'll see. We just don't know where it's going to go in response to whether or not Diggs is going to play week 1.
I've been saying it 100,000 times over since the moment we got him all the way through the summer. I even said, even after the beginning of camp when he was there and everybody was excited about him, what did I say to you on our show? I said, Mark, I'm hitting the brakes on this. I still don't know if this guy's going to start the season.
So is it his health, Chris, that he was only targeted 2 times? Or is just the team Downing and the rest of trying to spin it so it doesn't become a locker room issue? Well, he's not really ready yet, but when he's ready, we'll get him on the field. He's not going to play week 1. Are they going to spin it and try to use the knee as an excuse?
It seems like something's happening there.
Right?
Because he's not behaving like a number 1 guy right now. He's not behaving as if a guy that we're set to be a number 1 receiver. He's getting the reps. He's getting the looks, all this stuff. Now, like you said, Bedard said, is he on a program? What that means is, are they limiting him? And there's plenty of guys that are on that program. Morgan Moses, the right tackle, Hunter Henry. I mean, there's plenty of dudes, Bradbury, that are on that same kind of program right now. Barnmore. If that's the case, Davis, Gonzalez.
But I didn't like Diggs' response about being ready week 1.
No. Remember we talked about, is the next chapter in this once he gets his money, once he gets that guaranteed money, is he going to sit back for the first couple of weeks and say, what do we really have for a team?
Listen, you were the one who said it. Nobody else said it. If people tune in to the Real Deal New England Field, Pats Nation, you said it. And now all of a sudden, how many weeks later?
It makes sense.
It makes sense because now you're hearing this stuff coming out, and when you hear bits and pieces, well, yeah, you might be right, Chris. He may say, I'll go on the pup.
Let's see what this team is made of first.
Let's see what they're made of for a few weeks before I give 110%.
Right. Before I go put my knee out there and everything else out there, let me go and just kind of get a, smells bad, doesn't it? Go ahead.
Oh, it does smell bad.
It says it's a coach's decision. Do you think it's a possibility that they're saying let's let our offensive line, Drake Maye, get into the rhythm first before you get in and start disrupting, or let them get set before we can get you set?
Yeah, I mean, Joe's got a less cynical, sinister take on it, which you usually do. He's a Mr. Positive. Where it's
some time though, too.
No, but you're right. Where it's hey, let's not risk his knee right now. Let's get our offensive line right. Let's get our system right here. Let's take the first couple of games and see what we got.
Let's get Drake Maye comfortable in his offense.
Not because of him, but for him.
Right.
I think that's what Joe is saying. Let's do this for Diggs, not because of Diggs, because of his attitude, because of that crap. I don't know. It's all things that we got to pay attention to. And I still am not convinced that he's going to start the season.
And I missed that Bedard take during the week, Chris. That's the first time I heard that take.
Yeah.
That's.
I know. Yeah.
I
mean, it's a defense. Look, they're a pains in the ass, these wide receivers. They're pains in the ass. It is what it is. But you know what? That's why you should have McLaurin on this team, because he's not that guy, but he's still a number 1.
Yeah.
He's a number 1. Trade for him. Give up your second pick. Give up a first-round pick in 2027. Do what you got to do and get that kind of guy on this team. And the hell with Diggs at that point. Do what you want, Stephon. Nobody wanted you in the offseason, remember? Nobody was looking for you. So I mean, but you're not playing from leverage. Play with leverage.
You're not.
We'll get McLaurin on this team, and then tell Diggs to sit down and shut his goddamn mouth, and he'll do it. You watch how quick he'll show up on week 1 if you put McLaurin on this team. Oh yeah, because he did it in Houston when you had Nico Collins and Tank Dell. His ass showed up.
Of course he did, because they didn't need his act.
No, and so
they would have released him.
So if you're a smart organization, you play from a position of strength and power, not this way. Where Pop Douglas is the next guy down on the list, and Stephon Diggs, I'm quite sure, knows that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, positively.
So we'll see. But switching over to the defense, let's talk a little bit about them. So, Mark, looking at this Washington game, and then in the joint practices, well, let's talk about the Washington game, because you saw some things from the front in the Minnesota joints that were an issue. Tonga got on the field quite a bit. Now, it's vanilla. In the game.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a 5-man front a couple of times where Tonga was playing on the nose. And is that due to the lack of size? Is that meant to say we're going to stand these linemen up and try to make our speedy linebackers, Spillane, Ellis, Mapu, guys that are playing with speed and not size? Oh, we're going to let them get in between the cracks, make them right, and make plays? Is that what we got here? How we're going to defend the run?
Well, it appeared that way, Chris, against Washington, because that's exactly what was happening. Those guys were filling gaps and running to the ball, right?
Yeah.
That is, and for the most part, they did a good job. Now, listen, they weren't going up against frontline players. I get that, right? With Washington. As you mentioned earlier, Washington had like 20 starters sit, which, okay. But other than Tonga, Chris, they don't have the size in the middle. So my guess is going to be, that may be a strategy that they deploy in order to stop the running game for this season. Anyways, I think as time goes on next year and the year after, Vrabel will bring size in for the middle of that line. But right now he's going to play with what he's got. And this may be something him and the DC Williams have come up with. Like, hey, this is the only way we can, disguise the fact that we're weak up front. This is our way to assist with that. Because
Spillane is going to get to the ball. That dude is going to get to the ball every single time.
Absolutely.
So I'm confident, before we had the same problem last year with linebackers that couldn't run from here to there. You and your bum leg are better off, getting on the field trying to go sideline to sideline versus those clowns, Tavai and Bentley and the guys that aren't even on this team anymore. Mark, he doesn't like the veterans on this team.
No, he doesn't. He really doesn't.
Speaking of which, this is what he had to say about Duggar.
I think just making sure that he's where he needs to be and understanding that the coverage concepts and everything we do, keep working and keep progressing.
Coverage concepts.
A lot of this is the guys that have earned a right to take a look with that first unit. And again, there'll be different lineups and different things, and so we'll focus on the reps that you get. And right now that his attitude's been great, and he's had a long recovery in the off season. So just keep he's been out there and just continue to get better and work. And I think the more that he practices, the better he's going to feel, and the more that it's going to translate onto the football field.
Anytime a coach is talking about a veteran player, we consider Duggar a veteran player now.
Sure.
Anytime a coach is talking about a veteran player and you're bringing up, he had a long offseason with an injury, his attitude is good, that guy's got problems now. You got a serious issue making this team, and
earning the right to be with the ones, and
because he hasn't.
He hasn't,
and he's talking about understanding coverage concepts. You shouldn't be talking about the years he's been playing, Duggar, a veteran, not understanding coverage concepts by now.
But you know what?
That's inexcusable.
That is inexcusable, and that's surprising to me, Chris, because I know we give Bill a rash of shit on this show, right? I like to bust beans, but
you do. I don't.
No, but I do. Yeah, but nobody understood defense and concepts better than Belichick. There's no possible way, Chris. he could have been on the field for Belichick without understanding those things.
Yeah.
So when Vrabel makes that comment, that caught me by surprise.
Well, it does in this sense because they're different defenses. What Belichick brought to the table was a completely different concept. Okay, the way their coverage stuff was, they did deploy a lot of single high safety stuff, and with Devin McCourty on this team, then you could have a box safeties like Duggar and Peppers and guys like that can play up, and they use them as a robber safety where you're not throwing out and cover 2 a lot. You're sitting at a single high safety looks, and you're doing cover 3 sometimes, and you're not worried about that second strong. You have a true strong safety.
Okay.
Well, now in this defense, it's basically 2 free safeties. I mean, it's really what you're looking at. There's not going to be a lot of robber stuff where your box safeties are that necessary. I will say that in that game, anytime they went dime with 6 defensive backs, they brought on a third safety instead of a third corner, a fourth corner, I mean, and that's odd. Now, that could be because of the depth problem they have at corner, maybe. But Peppers, it looks to me like they want to pull Peppers into the box and play him down there. Now, Duggar and Peppers are the same guy in that situation. So you got a problem. Duggar has a problem because he's bad in coverage. He looks over his head with the ball going over a lot. No. It's going to be Hawkins. It's going to be Woodson. It's going to be Epps. These are the 3 guys that are your true free safety guys, and we've been saying it for 2 years.
Now,
this is an issue.
On the show yesterday, Chris, that you wouldn't be surprised if they try to trade Duggar for something.
Not at all. Not at all surprised.
They probably won't release some, but if you could get a 6th-round pick, they'd probably take a 6th-round pick at this point for him.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded. If Jennings is another guy that doesn't fit the system, and he's had a good camp. He's not playing terrible, but he's another guy that I would see. Look at the veterans, Mark. He doesn't like his roster. Mike Vrabel, Devay, Bentley's gone. Godchau's gone. Duggar, you heard what he just said. Cole Strange is on the outs. Stevenson, again, putting the ball on the ground, doesn't like that. I told you Jennings, Bourne. These are the guys that all got paid by Rat Weasel Elliott Wolf. Okay.
But Elliott Wolf is still there.
Well, he's there and he's there, but is he there? Because this is very much Vrabel's team. So these are all the veterans on this team. He doesn't like his roster, Mark. He doesn't like his roster.
You know what's funny, Chris, that you just made that comment? If you remember last year's training camp, Elliott Wolf was present. He was a couple of times you'd see him hanging around the field, like watching practice.
Yeah.
You haven't seen him once. You haven't heard from him. It's like he's hidden away somewhere right now.
No, they're going to face him out. They're going to face him out because every one of his guys is a bust.
Yeah.
And they're going to phase him out. I mean, and as soon as Woodson steps into the role of the free safety on this team, that's now your failure is complete. If what do they say? Darth Vader says it. Oh, it's complete. In this situation. And just really quick, we're going to.
But listen, the defensive line, though, you brought them up in the second joint practice, and listen, as you said, the 2 joint practices against Minnesota, they were up and down practices for both teams, right? Both sessions. But the second session, our defensive line seemed to have gotten schooled by Minnesota.
Yep.
The way it seemed, they were gashed. They couldn't handle running backs out of the backfield. It was a bad day for the defensive line.
Yeah.
On day 2, from what we gathered from the reports we got.
It's a size issue, so we have to see.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how that goes, and just pay attention to DJ James. I think he's going to make this team as a corner. We'll pay attention to that. We'll talk about it next week. But Weekly Rewind was presented by Corso Catone, the real deal New England feel. Is that what we're on here, Joe? Yeah. Real deal New England feel. Saturdays, noon Eastern. Got Catone's comments, Yankees, Red Sox, B's and C's, and so much more. When we come back, Joe's got something special to show you, and we're going to do it right after this.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more Corso and Catone.
Saturdays at noon.
Welcome to this special celebration to the best fans in the NFL.
Thank
thank you all for being here this evening as we honor and immortalize the legendary career of a sports icon, the greatest NFL player of all time.
The one, the only, Tom Brady. Look who's here looking like he just stepped off the pages of a Prada catalog.
He really put team first.
What a testimony to what sports means in New England and what Tom Brady means to this area.
I am Tom Brady, and I am a Patriot.
The first player in franchise history to receive this honor, Tom Brady.
I'm humbled to be here today with so many people who helped make this possible. I wouldn't be here without you all. Thank you. In the Patriots Nation, I can't put into words how much your support and your love meant to me. You showed up in the rain, in the snow, in 0-degree temperatures, and you earned every single one of these banners that fly above this stadium forever. But in the end, I know what this statue represents. It's not about one guy. It never is. It never has been. And I'm humbled and honored to have been part of this organization for 20 incredible years. You guys shaped my life and the life of my family, and for that, I'm forever grateful. Thank you, New England. I love you. And let's get ready to kick off the 2025 NFL season. Let's go!
That's fantastic. Well done. Yeah, really well done, Joe. Nice. You and your team over Jag Media. Excellent work, Joe. Nice. And I want to get your take for a minute here. I know we're against it a little, but you were there.
Yeah.
So, you saw the statue. I mean, just from looking at a picture of it, I mean, damn, it looks, the detail in the faces.
Yeah. I mean, they just did a hell of a job. The creators of that statue. The thing is enormous. And it's awe-inspiring. As you asked last episode in Corso Catone yesterday about, does it feel like it's looking at the Statue of Liberty, let's say, for the first time? And I say you kind of, that time and that moment, the first time out, it gets a little like hairy because other people are trying to take pictures, yada, yada, yada. But I do think that once you get down there for the first time, get a chance to look up and stand close to it, because it's essentially, it's not guarded or roped off or anything, so you can get right up to it and see the size of it and see the likeness of Tom Brady, and it is awe-inspiring. It's pretty amazing.
What do you think of the statue, Mark? What do you think of the whole thing?
We don't have enough time. They're going to go listen to Catone's comments from yesterday's Corso Catone to hear what I think of it.
I mean, it's putting aside how pissed off you are about the fact that
Kraft ought to be ashamed of himself, but that's a whole other issue. Listen, it's historic. It's a great thing, right? We probably will never see in our lifetime another player come along, do what he did. We probably will never see another statue erected for a New England Patriot again in our lifetime.
You don't think Belichick will get one?
No.
Eventually?
Maybe. But he's not a player. I'm saying player.
Okay,
not
yeah,
player.
player.
He's coach,
Okay,
not a player. Not a player.
All right.
Right? But
he deserves one. But
okay, in front of the bowling alley. Listen, so
Mark, you have a point though. You have a point there when you say the bowling alley, because when you look at where he's situated, you have to say, if they did like a memorial of like, Yankee Stadium, that sort of thing, where they have a bunch of different players in one area, you go, he kind of takes up a lot of space in a specific spot, and you can't really put somebody else near him unless he's in like a huddle of some sort. You know what I'm saying? Because he's centered at a certain spot before the tunnel that you're like, I don't know if they could put anybody. He might have to go by the bowling alley.
No. I think if they did do something for Belichick, it would be much smaller. It wouldn't be as grand of a gesture as it is for Brady, Chris. They probably could fit it somewhere on the grounds around the stadium, but it wouldn't be as grander of a gesture as it is for Brady, I don't believe. And the Brady statue, Chris, so I know you and I talked about this. It captures his grit and determination and his seriousness and his readiness to go do battle and having his team ready to play. But does it really capture Brady?
His personality?
Yeah,
no.
Capture.
I mean, it's
Joe
not because...
And Joe brought up there was 100 different clips and pictures and videos of Brady that you could have chose from to capture that personality. So
like the let's go. Yeah. Well, I think like if I were picking something, I would have picked the let's go. And I even think you could do it without the helmet on. The let's go face.
Yeah, you could have.
To capture his true personality. And his true personality is, yes, seriousness, but it's just a maniac of a, I'm one of the guys. I'm one of the crazy guys on this team, and I'm ready to go. And it was always the same, that kind of those iconic moments. It didn't capture one of those moments, but it does capture the overall essence of the seriousness and the stoic, all business Tom Brady, which is what he is. So, I mean, it does capture him that way. But to me, it's one of those type of things where it's like, if you got to explain that through to get to it, well, this is why it captures who he is because of the seriousness. That means it didn't capture it. So to me, it's like if you had the let's go face, you don't need an explanation when you see that face. That's Brady.
Yeah, and maybe 10 years from now we'll feel different, right? But now, and in contrast, if you bring that up, right? Outside of TD Garden is that iconic Bobby Orr statue where he's diving onto the ice after winning the Stanley Cup against the St. Louis Blues, and that's captured in time forever. That you have that image of Bobby Orr, and they capture that in that statue.
Right.
I'm not
moment.
Realistic his face and stuff as Brady's, but they capture the essence of Orr in that statue. Right?
Listen, either way, I'm just glad if they were going to do a picture, an image like that they captured, like they got it clean, it's crisp, it looks exactly like them. And I think if you're standing there in a quiet, you go there and say March to go see the Hall of Fame and it's quiet and you go stand next to that thing, I'm pretty sure you'll feel some goosebumps.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure you will.
The fact that Mark said, like, you don't know what you're going to feel like 10 years from now. And I think that's what the thing that the artist tried to capture as well is this thing has to live on through our generation. You know what I mean?
It's just forever.
To still say this guy was a Patriot and he made that much of a difference that he still stands. And that looks like what it should be.
It does. And so, I mean, and with Belichick, he deserves a statue. He should get one. He's not something just that's inside the Hall of Fame. That dude should get one somewhere out there because he started it all. He's the architect of it all. And I think when cooler heads prevail at some point, it will happen. I think it will happen and it will be appropriate that it happens. But this is a nice start because I think 3 statues that belong out there are going to be Belichick, Brady, and Kraft. When Mr. Kraft someday, a million years from now, is no longer with us, he deserves one too, sitting out there. And I think the 3 of them should be out there at some point. But I'll tell you what, Joe, you did a great job. It was fantastic. Love the statue. It truly makes you understand that I don't care what anybody says about Cowboys or any other stupid franchise. This is America's team. This is the franchise that people should stop aspire to be. And we got to get back to that. And I think Vrabel's got them on the right track. So good stuff, Joe, Mark, excellent. The Pats Nation was presented by Corso Catone, the real deal New England Field, Saturdays, noon Eastern. Hey, we got Yankees, Red Sox, Catone's comments, more Patriots talk. Come back next weekend to this show, 8 a.m. Eastern. We're going to have our breakdown of all the preseason games, including that Minnesota one, and camp notes, all that and so much more. We are the Pats Nation. Enjoy your Sunday.